Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. This is episode number 62, and I am your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Train Man. We are here back in the swamp because I've been told to come back and to finish it out. Casey Jones 3 says, keep working in the swamp. Also, hashtag know some river, but I didn't want to read that part. So yeah, we're back in the swamp. We're going to do more work in the swamp. Listen to that swamp music. And also I've been told by 3 separate comments to put a hut in the swamp. So I have a hut, and now I just need to figure out where to put it. It's got to be pretty far from the road. You know, I'll put it over here. Like, there we go. Whoops, I'm working in thingy. Okay, this is gonna be me swamp. Alright, there we go. So now we have a hut in the swamp. It's called Shrek's hut. That's all I needed. Literally all I needed. Like, in life. I'm happy now. I'm done. I can retire. I'm done with this route. Not gonna work on it anymore, because I put the hut there. It's complete. I'm just kidding. I've been told that I should take some cool vanity shots of this route, so if you guys, after following me around and watching me build this thing for what feels like forever, actually, have any ideas as to where those shots would be best taken? Obviously, I have some ideas myself, but if you guys have ideas, make them known, and I'm going to post an album of like cool vanity shots. Probably it'll be a link to Google Drive or something like that, just to show off the route. So, and you know, maybe that'll make it sort of enticing for reskinners. It's like, look what you're getting yourself into, in a good way. So let me do that. That's all going to be sand. In fact, all of this is probably going to be sand. I need to cut this off, like, right over here. Kind of difficult to control where the edge is going to be now, with the way that this is working against me. It's working against me. That bit is going to have its own stuff. And we are... wow. We're actually closer to the end than I thought we were. So, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do the sand while we're here. In fact, this is all going to be sand. Most of this in here is going to be sand because it's sand. It's, you know, it's right up there on the ocean. It's getting that. The waves are pulverizing it. Honestly, if I wanted to be really, really nice about it, what I would do is, instead of having it be sand, just have it be, we'll have it be some sand with some dunes and grass and stuff like that, but I don't care that much. It's supposed to look okay. It's supposed to look good enough. I mean, that's the deal with this whole route anyway. But yeah, I know. Me saying, oh, it's supposed to look good enough, sort of really, oof. I mean, this route, a lot has gone into this route so far. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of toil. A lot of late hours. A lot of dumb suggestions or statements from yours truly. And by suggestions, I mean things that I've come up with. Honestly, there's not really been a thing that somebody else has come up with that I've disliked. So, try me. Say something. Post a comment. Say something you want to see. So that I can rip it to shreds. Okay, now, if you honestly have something that you think would be a cool idea for the route, definitely say something. Because I would love more ideas. I have a nice fat document of ideas, but most of them have either been used or have been crossed out or, like, you know, whatever. There's a lot that's going into this, and honestly, speaking of ideas, this sort of brings me to something that I was thinking about, or, you know, looking at. I was going through Google Maps, as I do, just sort of tooling around, because I was at work, I was bored, looking at Lowell, Mass. Lowell, Mass is super freaking cool. and I need to go there. So they have this cool little heritage trolley operation, which I totally want to see. But also, they've got this mill building set up that sort of... It's definitely going in the right direction of what I want to see out of Mason Valley. It's in that direction. And so I want to go there, not just for foaming's sake, because I do want to go there for that reason. Don't get me wrong. But also to gain some inspiration and to think about, okay, what can I do with this town that I'm going to be working on? So that sort of means I got to go there quick unless I continue stalling doing scenery, which I can do this forever. There's so much scenery that I have to do between here and there. I can do the whole mountain area now. Now that the track is laid, and now that the track is laid, the scenery, or the terrain is done, the roads are in for the most part, except for ones that I come up with while I'm working on the scenery. I can do whatever I want up there in terms of scenery now. You know, there's nothing that it's like, oh, but should I wait until this other thing is done? No, I'm good. I can just put stuff in there. The only thing that I could possibly do to screw myself is if I'm going through there and it's going through there and I add like a bunch of semi-major or major roads that go off the end that I am gonna have to pay attention to later. That's the only way I can really make my life worse by doing the scenery up there. Scenery's got to get done anyway. It's got to get done eventually. It has to, no matter what, it has to happen. There's no two ways about it. So yeah, it's like the sort of it's more prominent now, but it's like what I used to talk about a lot during the Zombie Train when before I moved to the time lapse format, which was no matter what I'm doing in the route, I'm still doing something, I'm still furthering the eventual goals of completing the route as a whole. And those, don't think twice. Absolutely, that's what I want to do. There's never, hopefully, going to be a point where I'm like, you know what, this is good enough. There may be. I don't, I don't try to pretend that I am an unstoppable force. But I'd like to think that if I have to keep coming back and doing this for 2 hours a week, it at least gives me some sort of momentum to finishing the whole thing eventually, someday. I'm looking forward to the next areas that I have to do, which is going to be continuing in this direction. Like I've said, it's going to be continuing in this direction toward Bellington, and then once I get to Bellington, there's going to be another much longer branch line that I'm going to have to build that runs to another little town where it meets a VMR branch line, and then from there I can build up to where the VMR is, and then sort of like we've done with the bridge over here, I'm going to build the VMR to it. So it's really a question of, okay, how much can I get done in a given time frame, because eventually I'd like to have it all done. Now, the thing that might throw a wrench in the works, and I sure hope it doesn't, but the thing that might throw a wrench in the works is if some other major project comes up, like the thing that effectively killed the Tamaros Vale and Anaconda Railway is the Iron Horseman. Don't get upset at the Horseman for doing that. I think it was a good, transition, because the TV and ARR had its problems, and they were very, on the face of it. It was not like, ooh, but, sometimes these signals don't work, or these things are labeled backwards and this. It was nothing minor, really. The track work was a disaster on that route. To be fair, it wasn't all a disaster. It wasn't all bad, but there were plenty of spots where it really could have been better. And so, as I sit here painting these embankments and thinking about, okay, but how do I make the roads look right? I realize that I've come such a long way from where we were with the TV and ARR. It was the first real mega project that I took on. I don't consider Geiger Mountains a mega project by any stretch of the imagination. Like I've explained, it was like 20 tiles. Again, you can check the videos and see whether it was or not. I'm not sure, but I think I vaguely remember it being like 4 tiles by 5 tiles, or something to that effect. It was not very large. We could fit a dozen of them in the route that we have now, and this is a tiny, tiny fraction of what the Tolbrin Peninsula is destined to be. This is 15 miles of what's probably over a 200-mile main line for the Gilson Eastern Railroad, and another, again, a tiny fraction of the VMR main line, and I haven't even touched the Zion and Skyline or the New Shoreham Tramway. Those are major things, and you'd think that this is slow. Getting from Olive to Mason's Landing, which isn't even a real town on the map. Like, it's not on the physical map. And I say physical, I just mean the image. Getting from there, we did in like a record amount of time, in the amount of time that we actually took to build the track and the terrain. And then it took me a while to get up the VMR, because that's much more challenging terrain. The thing with challenging terrain is, if it's challenging to build track across, it's probably challenging to build, period, full stop. Because it's a lot more varied, it's steeper, and it's got a lot more nuance than your average flat swamp. Even with these hills in the background. Yes, these hills are real. It's not, these aren't hills that they're there for a backdrop. They are the actual hills that the VMR climbs. But the fact of the matter is, when I'm building along, this area here, where the hills really don't matter, they're just there as a backdrop, it doesn't really take that, it doesn't take that much longer versus building across this area where I'm just making some divots and whatever. I'm not making major drastic terrain changes. But up there, not only am I going in and building this terrain, and not only do I have to make it seem realistic because it's up close, you're looking at it, I have the added complication of, in order to ensure maximum realism with the work that's been done on the route, I'm doing it in the very civil engineer fashion of, I'm building the terrain first, and then I'm trying to figure out how to get through it. And you guys have seen me use my god powers once or twice to be like, this hill isn't right, it wouldn't make sense. But rarely am I like, yeah, but I built this too steep. I generally just have to engineer my way out of the problem. And I think that's good. I think that's a good thing. I really like doing that. Not only because it's a fun mental exercise for me, but because it brings an authenticity to the route that I don't think you'd have otherwise, because it's really hard to think that far ahead when you're laying the track. It's really hard to think, oh, I want a cut here and an embankment here and this, that, and the other, and then you go and you build the terrain so that it gets up at the track, and it doesn't look right, because it's very clear that, oh, and he built this terrain so that it would match the line of terrain that existed after he went in and did the tool, and that's very true. If you look at the TV and RR, this is really easy to call out that route for being bad, because A, it's my route, so I can call it out all damn day, and B, it's not good. It's kind of a mess. It was ambitious, it was big, but well thought out, it was not. So, don't bite off more than you can chew. There's my lesson for the day. If you don't think you're going to be able to properly do something, or even if you haven't done something, and even if you think, oh, but this will be a cinch, I'll just do it, and that'll be that. I'll just buckle down and I'll have all this terrain and it'll look good. don't just do that. Don't just run in and think that that's going to happen, because it probably won't. You might be a savant at route building. You might be really good at putting this stuff together and making it look right, and you might not need the practice that a lot of people need to get a route right. But that's not everyone. And even if you think you are, test yourself. Build a little module. Say, oh, I want to build this industrial area, or I want to build this main line. Obviously, if you're building a huge route, you're probably going to have all of these things tucked into it. So, test yourself. And see, does it come out good? And ask your friends. Ask me. I'll review any route. We're like 5 weeks off of a route review. I saw it appear on the schedule last time I went to update my document there with all the zombie train topics. We're like 5 weeks away from a thing. And so, if anybody has a route that they are curious about what I think, if they think it's good, if they think it's bad, if they want me to tear it apart, if they want me to praise it, if they want to see, what I think, and I assure you that when you hand me a route, I'm not going to sugarcoat things, but I'm not going to be rough on purpose. If I don't think it's good, I'll say that I don't think it's good, but I will say what I do think is good, and I'll say what I think is necessary to improve it, and stuff like that, because even the worst route is a good base. The TV and ARR might not have been great. It might have had some rough track work, it might have had some steep grades, tight curves, all that. But in the end, it was a really good learning experience, and it was a good experiment for me to do things like terrain tracks, which I'd never done before. Do things like, tree splines and this, that, and the other, because if you don't recall, the Geiger Mountains had very little scenery, because I hadn't gotten that far. There were a few things that I'd textured, but that was it. That was all I had done. And I didn't have, buildings or anything like that. The town of Temeros was my first foray into building a real town. And it looked crappy. It didn't look good. But it's okay, because I figured that out, and I learned a lot from that. And, yeah, what I would say on a route review might, is different from what you would learn yourself by going over a route and going, oh, looking back on a route later and saying, oh, I realized that I could have done this way, and it would have been better. And, yeah, that's absolutely true. But sometimes you need to be taught. Sometimes you need to be taught stuff. Sometimes you don't learn it on your own, or you don't learn it right away. Sometimes it's the kind of thing where, you do need somebody to tell you, hey, no, this could be better, and this is how. Or to say, hey, you're on the right track with this. I think that this has a lot of potential. And the reason I say, hey, no, go ahead, build a test route, build a module first, is because the worst thing that happens is you have a module that you can build off of. It's the kind of thing where if you have a module and you're like, yeah, this is good, then you can attach another module to it. You can add tiles to it. That's the beauty of this game and the powerful tools that Surveyor has. No, N3V is not paying me. The powerful tools that Surveyor has in order for you, that let us do this, that let us build our own routes. Because I can at any point say, yeah, but I want to go that way, and just build. I want to go into the hills, or I want to go, I want to build a chain of islands and run a bridge out onto it, like I'm on the Florida Keys. It's something that I can do. I can do whatever I want, and I can take this route and I can merge it with another route. I can take TBA's route and go, you know what, this is beautiful. I think I need this, and just make it part of it. Just poof, just attach it, and that's it. Then that's, it's done. It's good. It's the kind of thing where, I feel like, especially if you're the kind that doesn't necessarily finish everything. If you're the kind that, maybe you bite off more than you can chew, maybe you build too many gray tiles because you have an amazing idea, and then you just never come back to it because it looks too daunting on the map. If you do that, you need to play in moderation. You need to build in moderation. You need to find a way to work with the motivation that you have. Now, whether that's something like this, where you sit down and you build for a couple of hours every week on a time schedule. Now, obviously, I have a commitment. I have a thing that says, yes, I am going to produce a video every week. That's 2 hours of me sitting here talking to a microphone and ignoring my girlfriend. She's sitting behind me. She's playing Fallout.
Hello.
And she's here voluntarily. She knew I was doing this.
Shame.
She knew I was doing this. She said, how about I come over and play Fallout while you do under construction? And I said, sure. So, I'm not purposefully ignoring my girlfriend. She's here under the acknowledgement that I will not be paying very much attention to what's going on the couch behind me. Anyway, but yeah, I have a...
That leads to very interesting things to do.
I don't think they can hear you, but if they did, that's funny. I have a commitment to do this. I have a reason to come on here and do this, and it's you guys. It's to maintain the schedule. It's to give you guys predictable content, and it's to make something that people enjoy watching. Because even if one person enjoys this, and I can see that multiple people enjoy this because I get comments on it almost every week. Plus, obviously, the views. But the views are, at least if you look at them at face value, it's difficult to judge viewer engagement based off the views. If somebody's making a comment, then that's different. Right now this is basically a one-man podcast. Doing it with more than one person, I've tried that in the past. We had the Horseman discuss. No, not even that. She said me, which, yeah, she was on once as a special guest, but I tried to start a thing that was the Horseman discuss, which was we'd get a topic, and I'd bring on a few people and we'd talk about it for half the show or whatever. But I felt like this was better off on the one-person thing, and, maybe I would do that on Sunday Driving, which I haven't had the time to make. Uh-oh. Oh, phew. That was weird. Speaking of Sunday Driving, while I'm on this subject, I need to talk about the last comment. So, it was Jacob Durbin, TBA Avenger, and East Rail 11 that said various versions of put a hunt in the swamp, call it Shrek's hut, whatever. That was from the podcast. I knew those comments were coming because it was brought up on the podcast. But, 3 people said that. I only needed one, guys. I only needed one. Nonetheless, I like the viewer engagement. Anyway, no, not Bradley. You're not Bradley, you're Brady. Hey, what an awesome name, my dude. Brady Cure says, could you do a run session soon on the route? And the answer is yes, but I don't do it for these videos. So, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the channel, Brady, or if you're just here, if you're relatively new. If you are relatively new, welcome aboard. If you're not relatively new, thanks for sticking around. And that goes for anybody. If you're somebody who watches my videos a lot, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for watching them. And if you're new, welcome aboard. This is Under Construction. This is an episode. This is a show where I talk about random whatever, dictated by the things that you say in the comments. Because if you want me to talk about something, you can say it, and I will. And I will read your comment aloud on the air. Or if you don't want me to read it aloud on the air, you can message me at bombs321 on Skype, and I will not read it aloud on the air. But here's the thing. If you message me, I will probably forget. And then I will not read it, and then I will not say anything. So, your best bet is to just say something in the comments. If you want me to talk about something. Or if you want me to remember something. Anyway, I digress. Oh, by the way, if you want me to do a route review, that's the place where you should get in contact with me. I mean, you can email me, I guess, if you want to. You can hit me up at ellistrain@gmail.com. You can text me, but you can't really get a route to me that way, so I'm not going to bother with that one. the thing that you can do is you can send me a message on Skype and say, hey, I want you to review my route. The closer to the actual route review time you send me this message, the better. Especially if you send the stuff along with it, because I am liable to forget if you don't say anything right then. So, when a month from today comes around, don't hesitate. So yeah, that's the gist of it. You can hit me up on Skype, and I will answer, because that's where I am most active. That is where I pay attention. I have a Facebook. If you find me on Facebook and try to message me on Facebook, you'll be sorely disappointed, because I won't respond, because I haven't logged into Facebook since I was in high school, which was a long time ago. So, wasn't that long ago, it was 4 years ago. But anyway, 4.5 now, 5 almost. So brain work, please. The thing is, if you are new here, Mr. Brady Cure, so I don't typically do run sessions as part of the under construction repertoire. Run sessions are part of the Sunday driving thing, and that's a generally more loose show. I mean, this is a pretty loose show. Compared to the Terminus, it's a loose show. We don't talk about news. We don't really talk about trains all that much, although sometimes we do. It's just sort of a spur of the moment, whatever comes to mind, sort of like the off-topic style, or you know, the RT podcast style, where we're just talking about whatever. We're spitballing. We have dumb conversations. We talk about chocolate. We talk about how not to get girls, and we talk about our lives and that sort of thing. So, you know, it's a very informal show, and I don't respond to comments on it or anything like that, although it's the kind of thing where we could take discussion topics, but I don't have a way to store them. It's not set up for that, is my point. It's very informal. We sit around, we talk about whatever. Please give me these reads, thank you. And I play on this route. And by play on the route, I normally mean what I'm doing is I am play testing the route. I am running the AI, because the AI is the backbone of the route. Well, actually, the backbone is the track. But the AI is all of the... It's what's putting life into the route. Ideally, in the future, the entire route will be automated tip to tail, and you can come in here and you can watch a 24-hour day of trains running. And that's what I want. That's what I've always wanted to do. Even as far back as Geiger Mountains, you can see me experimenting with automation and sort of trying to get the route... Whoops, I clicked off the window. Trying to get the route to run itself. Which, it's a feat to do that. It's difficult. And I have been trying to get it to do certain things for a very long time. By it, I just mean routes in general. So, yeah. Working turntables is something that I recently started, or that I recently sort of accomplished. They're only semi-reliable, but there are definitely things in the game that help me do that, and that I've learned now, and that, make it work. Now, the other thing is interlocking towers. Interlocking towers are very helpful. Interlocking towers let me do a lot that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. These large interchanges with multiple lines coming together, these large crossovers, would not be possible without interlocking towers. So, as far as advancements to the game that Tane brought, that is my number one by far. It's not the track quality, because I started off doing track quality with this, and I sort of fell off the wagon on that. I couldn't get it to do exactly what I wanted it to do, and the same thing with super elevation. Maybe someday I'll go through and I'll track quality the thing. But, it's something that I want to do. It's something that, I'm definitely capable of doing, but in order to get the super elevation right, I have to learn some things. I had a tab opened for probably the better part of a year, with a thing on how to do super elevation properly, with all the math. And then I eventually closed it because I realized that I was not going to do that right then. If it's something you guys want me to do, if you guys want me to go through and do track quality, I will. Again, I am beholden to the viewer. But, yeah, Sunday driving is where it's at. And I haven't been able to make one of those lately just because I've been just very busy. And in the free time that I've had, I've just sort of wanted to chill. And to be fair, Sunday driving is pretty chill. It's as chill as it gets. We don't have to talk about anything. I just have to drive a train. But the other thing is it stresses the computer out. And yes, this game stresses the computer out. Or not this game, but just doing this stresses the computer out too. I don't have the strongest computer. I have some good parts, but there are also some parts in here that are going on a decade old. And anybody who builds gaming PCs will know that that's I don't know what the word is. That's bad juju right there. It's not the kind of thing you want to necessarily have in a PC that you're playing this, which is a tough to run game, and streaming or screen sharing or anything like that. It's the kind of thing where it is not rocket surgery to figure out that, hey, these decade-old parts really aren't running this as well as, things used to run. I was like, yeah, gee, no kidding. They're old. And I know they're old. I'm fully aware of the fact that they're old. And I just can't really justify spending that much more on new parts when I only, push this computer for 2 hours a week. There aren't, I play Rainbow Six, and yes, sometimes I have some difficulty running it, but the difficulty running it really comes from my hard drive, and if I'm looking into replacing that, not only did I run out of hard drive bays, because I have 2 in there, and that's all that this thing came with, it's on my faster hard drive already. Rainbow Six is on my faster hard drive already. And it really only has a major problem when something else is going on the computer. So, yeah, I do that. My bottleneck is not my graphics card. I recently got a graphics card. It's a hand-me-down, but it's from TJ, so it's a hand-me-down that's good. It's a GTX 960. Yeah, that's it. No suffixes or anything, just a GTX 960. And it's pretty great. It's the only reason I'm able to bring this to you in a staggering 50 FPS instead of a staggering 12. And even if I go into Olive, I'm going to have a bad time, but the bottleneck is not my graphics card. It's my hard drives, which are slow, because they're really big. It is my RAM, which I only have 8 gigs of, which these days the standard is more like 16 if you're really doing a lot on your computer. And it is my processor, which is a Phenom 2, like I said, from almost a decade ago. So, this computer, when it was put together, when it was designed, it was not designed to be a gaming computer. I got it because it was not outrageously expensive and had a lot of capability. It was the kind of thing where I knew that I could do things on, and it wasn't crazy expensive. And this was at a point in time, and I'm still sort of at this point in time because I get nervous anytime I have to replace something on this computer. I get real nervous. And I know that's, that is hypocritical of me to say, because I say, it's no big deal. It's basically like big expensive Legos and they just sort of fit together. But I get nervous. I get nervous anyway. You shouldn't be nervous when you're replacing parts on your computer, especially if you're doing it right, as in you're wearing a static bracelet. I don't do that. Or at the very least grounding yourself on the case a lot. Like touching it all the time, making sure you don't build up any static electricity. That's the thing that I do. But it's like I'm certain that I'm gonna shove something in and it's gonna break. I thankfully don't have a bad experience with breaking computer parts. In fact, I like to consider myself extraordinarily lucky when it comes to technology, because somehow all of the tech that I own somehow just keeps working. Even the typewriter, which is going on 13 years old laptop, that it's a Toshiba satellite that I got when I went into middle school, and it's got exactly 1 gigabyte of RAM and Windows Vista. And I love that thing for all the wrong reasons. And it is a mess. It is a mess. I don't know how it ever worked. It worked past tense. It still works. I don't know how it ever worked. Even before I touched it. It's such a disaster of a computer. It's not good. It's not good at all. I was extremely grateful to have it when I was in 6th grade. Because I'm a 6th grade kid with his own laptop. Hell yeah. But I couldn't even load, Industrial Wasteland on TRS 2006. And I definitely couldn't load Toronto Raillands on TRS 2006. It wouldn't do it. However, I could play all the other games. I could play all my other favorite games, which were like Locomotion, which was a game that had come out a while before then. It wasn't groundbreaking by any means. I could play Minecraft on tiny settings, 2 chunks render distance. I could play... What else could I play? What else did I do? The other Tycoon games, I had School Tycoon. I always thought that was the coolest. Mostly because the whole place could burn down. I had Zoo Tycoon, I had Underwater Tycoon. I got this Tycoon pack, and I also had SimCity 4. Which, I don't know about you, but SimCity 4 was the best. I could play it, I think. I guess I could play it on that thing. I remember being able to play it, but maybe I'm thinking of a different computer. Yeah, that game was the best. That game was so cool, and I have not played City Skylines. It's on my Steam wishlist, but the thing is, if I'm gonna get it, I want to get all that DLC. I want to get the After Dark, I want to get the Snowfall, I want to get the Mass Transit DLC, and I want to get all those other goodies. None of the minor stuff, but anything that changes the game, anything that adds more. Again, the things that I mentioned, because there are some serious changes to the game in there. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't played it. I just sort of read a lot of things on Steam, just to figure out what I wanted. And yeah, I mean, that's that. That's what I want. I want to play it, but the thing that gets me about it, see, in SimCity, because it's on a grid, you didn't have these roads wibbling all over the place, and you didn't have to be an artist to make an interchange look good. They just had them. You just dropped it in, and it was boom. Okay, you have a cloverleaf now. And I thought that was the best thing ever. I thought, compared to City Skylines, where it's oh, let me draw this one curve 5 times until I get it right. Nah. I ain't about that life. I would just rather build my city and tell the roads where I want them to go, and they'll go there. Now, to be fair, that's kind of how City Skylines works. It doesn't matter how sharp your curve is, really. The cars don't give a damn. The cars will go around anyway. But the thing is, I at least want it to look right, And so I'd spend so much time making it look right. Man, you guys seeing a parallel or what? When it doesn't really matter if it looks right. Whereas in SimCity 4, it was it just looks right. There you go. It just looks good. It's proper. It's done. And so, yeah. So that it makes me not want to play City Skylines. And I don't know, like, it isn't the fault of the game. Personally, I don't know what they would do to make it better. I really don't. Because, honestly, I think the road building system is not a bad thing. In fact, I think it's good. I think it teaches people about traffic management and stuff like that. But I just don't like it myself. I just don't want to deal with it. I've watched enough Let's Plays that I know that I'm going to spend way too much time, again, trying to get that one curve on the interchange right. And it might be a nice outlet for me, but if I want to build, like, if I want to deal with logistics, I'm going to go play Factorio. That's a much more pure logistics game for me. I'm not saying Factorio is better than City Skylines. They're really not comparable games. City Skylines is a city build, a city simulation, and Factorio is Factorio. You build a factory. It has nothing to do with people. In fact, you're part of the game is to eradicate the natives. So it's you know what? We're back to the Dollar Tree Christopher Columbus. We just came full circle. It took us like 3 episodes. But yeah, in City Skylines, you're I don't know, some great city builder. I can't think of one off the top of my head. You're the Romans, okay? All the Romans. I'm gonna group them all together. They're all great. And then things went downhill because Christopher Columbus was also an Italian. And he killed a lot of people. Indirectly, mind you. I mean, he killed plenty of people directly. But he killed many, many more people indirectly. And I think that's one of the bigger problems. And it's not just with him. It's with just European settlers in general. Not that they knew any better. Don't get me wrong, they did some terrible things. I'm not trying to excuse that. But not that they knew any better, but they brought along these diseases that just wiped out the Native American population. And now in Factorio, you aren't carrying diseases, but you do have robots and laser guns, so it's basically the same thing. And pollution. Also pollution. It's like disease is like pollution, except it's alive. So it's worse. Yeah, it's worse. I'll stand by that. Sure, it's worse. I don't know. How would you rather die? Would you rather die of dysentery caused by, a horrible infection? Or would you rather die by lung cancer caused by, factory, emissions or whatever? Would you pick? You pick. It's not fun either way. Just no matter what. It's not great. And that's why, if you're an alien in Factorio, you just die. This is my message to the aliens. If you're watching this, when I get back into the game, you should just leave and go somewhere else. Because it doesn't end well for you. It says it right here in your file. Doesn't end well for you. Anyway, back to not eradicating the natives, back to comparing Factorio and City Skylines, the games that are just so different, the games that are only similar in that you play from a mostly top-down point of view. Yeah, no, they're very different games. They both have a lot going for them, but City Skylines for me, it feels like it's too much minutia and not enough logistics. And Factorio is just 100% logistics with a side of killing aliens, which that's always a good side, I think. At least until we meet the aliens and then they figure out how many properties we have where all we do is kill aliens, and then they get real pissed off and then probably kill us because they'll be our Christopher Columbus, far more advanced. Honestly, they're probably going to get here. They're going to have like super AIDS, and we're going to die. That's how I predict First Contact will go. If it doesn't go like that, you can all suck it, because I'm not putting anything on that. I thought I was going to go with, you can all have something from me, but you were wrong. Honestly, speaking of First Contact, don't think we've had it yet. Don't think there are aliens locked up in Area 51. But think that there are almost definitely aliens out there, because odds are. but I don't think we're going to see first contact, at least not within our lifetimes. And unless somebody figures out how to effectively break the fundamental laws of physics, because yes, faster than light travel is hypothetically possible, but not practically possible. I hate to put a damper on that, all you Star Trek, Stargate, and Star Wars fans. All those Star Wars. I got into that before. I've talked about that already. Not going down that path. Go check out the other episode where I'm building around over there. I'm building terrain and talking about Star Trek, Star Wars, and Stargate. And all you other star properties where things go faster than light, sorry, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards. Maybe it is. Then again, I'm sure the telecommunication that we had, or that we created in the 1800s, the telegraph, and which turns into the telephone, which turns into the internet as we know it. I'm certain that was just utterly beyond anything that anyone could come up with in the 1500s. They didn't think about electricity. Really. There may have been some civilizations, if I recall correctly, that were like Mesopotamians that had a battery or something, but they couldn't make a car with it. They couldn't build a Tesla. They couldn't build a radio transmitter and pick up the waves, or blast sick tunes on their transistor radio. It couldn't happen because they didn't have the metalworking. They didn't have the tech. They didn't have everything that's based upon. And so I would assert that they had no idea that any of this was possible. They probably thought, based on their system of beliefs, what they understood in the universe, everything that they knew, they couldn't comprehend the idea that there could be this kind of telecommunication. And I hope I don't sound like I'm trying to rag on them like they were so stupid. Because they weren't. Ancient peoples of the world, they did their best with what they had. They made a lot of assumptions, a lot of wrong assumptions in a lot of cases, but they could only do things based on what they had, and the things that we know today are only based upon the hundreds and furthermore thousands of years of scientific achievement that goes back, basically to the dawn of humankind. It's a building process. It's a learning process. The things that we think are right today may be wrong tomorrow. You just can't put too much stock in things. Period. Full stop. I don't know where that was going, but it can end right there. Because things are not always as they seem. Things aren't the way that we think they are a lot of the time. It's a fact of life. Whether that be with science or with interpersonal relationships, are they thinking this? Do they want that? Or who are these people? Unless they are holding a sign that says "We want blank," and even then, sometimes it's hard to read into somebody's motives. It's hard to read into, okay, well, they clearly are looking to this. They're looking to get this, because people might say one thing, or they might pick at one thing, and they might mean another thing. It's, again, human nature. It's human nature. It's the depth of the human mind where sometimes we don't understand what we want. We don't even understand why we feel a certain way, or why we act a certain way. It's deep, man. It's deep beyond you or I could comprehend. It's the kind of thing that, this is what people go to school for. This is what people study their entire lives. There's no book of secrets that says, oh, this is how the brain works. There are many books. They are not secret, and they don't have all the answers. And again, if this fascinates you, if what I'm saying, I'm not Michael from Vsauce, but if the stuff that I'm saying fascinates you, definitely look into the subjects, because there are a million things in the world that you can learn. There are more than that, but there are countless things. There are limitless things that you can learn in the world, and if just one of those is interesting to you, then pursue it. Then don't let it go. Then you have a reason to base your life around something, and you have a reason to contribute, and you have a reason to make the world a better place by learning and by understanding and by figuring stuff out, by answering these questions that we've had for decades or for millennia, for people at the dawn of time, and we're still thinking about this. We're still trying to figure out things like, why are we here? How did we get here? Where did this all come from? Is there something that guided us to be the way that we are, or is it just some sort of amazing coincidence that we form? We think about it, going back to the first contact thing. Some people, some astute listeners may have heard of something called the Fermi paradox. And actually, I need to drink my water before I get started on this one. This is a big one. It basically brings up the question of, if we look at how old the universe is, which, for those who don't know, it's really, really old. It's about 13.7 billion years old. It's a long time. And in fact, the sun has only been around for like 4 or 5 billion of that. And humans, like civilization as we know it, I think came around like 10,000 years ago. It hasn't been a long time, is the point I'm trying to get here. We've been on Earth for a really, really short period of time compared to the geological and universal, I guess, time scale. Anyway, it's mind-boggling. That's another thing. Get into like geology and I mean, geology is a way to start with that, but I don't know what the specific field would be to turning back the clock that much. Like, I mean, astronomy, I guess, because that's the only the most distant stars that we can see are really the only things that we can perceive at all that date back that far. So anyway, we've been around a short amount of time. It took us, several million years of evolution, but a really short time to go from Homo sapiens, just sort of dicking around in the dirt and picking berries off bushes, to building, the Empire State Building and aircraft, and leaving the Earth's atmosphere, and, building computers that enable me to create this video that you're watching. So, it took a relatively short time on a geological timescale for us to figure all that out, which is amazing. And so you think about it. If we could do all this in this short of time, we harness the atom, and I might come back to that, which is why I bring it up purposefully, specifically. If we figured all this out in this length of time, in the length of time that it took us, how come other races or other species, I guess, aren't way ahead of us? How come they aren't out there exploring the galaxy? How come they haven't come here? How come we haven't, we don't have definitive proof that there's life out there? How come we haven't seen some evidence of this? You'd think that in 13.7 billion years there'd be some civilization that has risen out of, that has, left their home planet and spread their wings across the Milky Way, if not the universe. Now, the Milky Way is big, don't get me wrong, but, that figured it out, that cracked the code, that figured out, immortality, that figured out faster than light travel, that sort of thing. Why don't we have evidence of that happening? Maybe it's because we just haven't looked hard enough. Maybe we don't know where to look. Maybe we are not in a part of the galaxy that sees a lot of traffic, so to speak. But nothing so far has jumped out at us as a species as like, oh, that's clearly, and as a species I mean like the consensus, the scientific consensus of saying, yes, that's clearly from another world. There are definitely, other people of some species out there, faffing about in the galaxy doing whatever. Why isn't that true? Why haven't we seen it? If it's taken us 10,000 years to do this, and they've had billions and billions of years, why haven't we seen them? Why aren't they all over the place? Why aren't we descendants of them? Why, we started off so late, relatively speaking. Why, why do they not own us already? Why do they not watch us? Why are they not omnipresent? Maybe they are. I'm not going to get into crazy conspiracies, but maybe they are. Maybe the individuals that we call gods and goddesses are really just beings, sort of beyond our scope, beyond our knowledge. But that's a little bit existential. It's a little bit out there for me. Look at Stargate again. It's like maybe there are beings out there that were posing as gods, and that's where we get our idea of gods from. I'm not certain about that. I don't think that happened. You'd think there'd be better, more concrete evidence of that. But maybe, and this is the bit that I'm trying to get to. This is the great filter idea. So maybe there's something about the universe that we live in that prevents these kinds of civilizations from rising. And there are different classes, different names for these kinds of civilizations. Level 1 or whatever, level 0 or something like that. That you can look all this up. There actually is classification for this. There are people that have put thought into this, which amazes me. It doesn't amaze me that they've put thought into it, but that there's like a categorically agreed upon definition of advancement in civilizations that we don't even have. We not only don't have examples of, but don't even know if they're possible. But there's a filter somewhere. The conclusion is there has to be a filter somewhere, because if there wasn't something preventing species from becoming intergalactic, then there's got to be something that keeps species planetary. And that doesn't mean that there isn't something out there. That doesn't mean that there isn't life on other worlds. There probably is. Again, there probably is. Because odds are. And that's what I'll always come back to. Odds are there's life on other planets that we don't know yet. Probably not, substantially in our solar system. Maybe not substantially at all. But I'll get to that in a second. There's a filter somewhere, and it's preventing civilizations from becoming intergalactic. Or interplanetary, at least. From exploring our galaxy and becoming, effectively gods. Effectively. I'm gonna lay that line down. If you have limitless power, you're basically a god already. That's just, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and if you're doing something that seems like magic, you might as well be a minor god or something. If it looks like you're bending the laws of physics, yeah, something's off. And it, usually it'd just be because we don't understand why yet. But that's neither here nor there. Why are there no species that are doing that are cruising around in these, faster than light spaceships, flipping us the bird as they cruise through the solar system? Maybe we just haven't seen them. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are incomprehensible to us. We're just like a colony of ants on the side of a highway. We'll never understand what's going on that highway. Never. But maybe they just aren't there. Maybe there's something that prevents them from getting there. Maybe there's some sort of filter. And that's the terrifying thing. Maybe there's something that every species goes through that could possibly become this amazing, godlike interplanetary species. Maybe there's something that every species goes through, some sort of filter. And so the question is, if there is a filter, have we passed it? Or are we yet to pass it? Are we yet to encounter it? Is this filter, something that when a species is on a single planet, they don't worry about? They don't recognize, they don't notice. And, they might not realize that they're drawing closer to it. is it something that's caused by the species? Does every species end up killing themselves? Is it so common that a species gets atomic weapons, or, and then uses them and just destroys their whole civilization, takes them back to the Stone Age, and then they have to start again? And it's just so rare that we as a species have made it this long without doing that. And we've yet to do that, and there's going to be some cataclysmic war that wipes us out. Is it something else? Is it that no species ever figured it out? Is there nothing to figure out? Is it that no species ever managed to get interstellar, interplanetary? Their views were too short-sighted. They, whatever. They just didn't get out there. For technological reasons. Or for social reasons, or something like that. Is that why? Is there something out there, something greater, that when you reach a certain point, it just comes for you? Or is it that having life as advanced as ours is so astronomically unlikely that we are one of the first to ever get to this point? And I think that's super cool, but also really disappointing. The other ones are scary. The other ones are just straight up scary, like terrifying. Like, we're headed for this future where we will probably wipe ourselves off the face of the galaxy, because that's just what happens to every civilization that gets as far as we did. Or as far as we do, as far as we have. Is that really it? Is that what we're destined for? I sure hope not. But, and that's scary, because it's like, well, will that happen within my lifetime? Will the apocalypse come? And will I see the end of civilization as we know it, or will I die, not knowing what happens? I'm not sure what's worse. Alternately, maybe we are effectively alone. And that's just, they're both kind of scary. Again, there's another quote. I already brought up the quote about sufficiently advanced technology. Now, that was like both of these quotes were part of the title slate for XCOM. Like, when you load up XCOM Enemy Unknown, not the newest one, which is XCOM 2, but the one I didn't do a Let's Play in, originally it said this: there are two possibilities. Either we are alone in the universe, or we are not. And each is just as terrifying. Each possibility is just as terrifying as the other. Because, and I absolutely agree with it. Either there's something out there that we just haven't noticed yet, either because it's hiding from us, or we're just that dense. Hi. Love you too. Oh, okay. See you later. Have a great night. I know you couldn't stand me ranting about aliens, huh?
Nah, I just couldn't stand you.
Oh, I see how it is.
Love you.
Anyway, see you tomorrow. I love you. So, either we're alone, and that's terrifying because we have this whole universe before us, and we don't know why we're alone. Or we aren't alone, and that means there's something out there, which either we haven't noticed it, or it's hiding. So, you really have to wonder. And it's a tautology. There's really no other, there aren't any other options there. It's one or the other. So, maybe we'll find out, but like I sort of opened this with, I don't think we're going to find out within our lifetimes. I think unless Spock comes knocking at our doorstep, like, welcome to the Federation, although we were the Federation, but, respect the analogy, just roll with me for a minute, then, unless Spock comes knocking at our doorstep saying that, again, I know, Star Trek fans, that's not what happened, just shush, I don't think we're going to make contact with aliens. I don't think we're going to be the ones that say, hey, unless in the next, in the next couple of decades we develop some sort of interstellar technology, some reliable interstellar travel. And and I can speculate on this all damn day. What is it going to be like? Are there layers of space underneath our own that are compressed that we can travel through, like the Shaw Fujikawa slip space drive or a hyperspace drive? Or a frame shift drive even? I believe that's how those work. I haven't looked into them so much. Is it going to be us, creating the bubble around ourselves and traveling through an altered, and riding on the wave of an altered space-time, as in warp drive? That's the more plausible of the two based on the physics that we know, but, it could be based on physics that we don't know. And that's probably what it's going to be, because we don't have anything in physics that explains it yet. And so, or is it going to be like, wormholes are the best form of transportation? Is it going to be like Stargate, where you have to have an established thing at both ends? I know Stargate has hyperdrives, but where you have an established thing at both ends already, and you have to go out there the slow way and put it there. But then once you do, you have instantaneous or near instantaneous travel back and forth. What's it going to be, if anything? And you guys can weigh in on this all you like. You guys make comments, say something. I want to hear your input on this. So, what's it going to be? And if we encounter aliens, what's it going to be like? Are they going to be friendly? Are we going to be the Columbus? Are they going to be the Columbus? Is it going to be us running into aliens that are, in the future, that are like we are now, where they are a, maybe relatively young species, depending on how you measure things, where they haven't cracked, interstellar space flight yet, and that sort of thing, and it's just we sort of have to play this waiting game, or we show up and we're like, we want your resources, and they die, because of our incredibly superior firepower. Are we going to be the bad guys again? Historically, when a more powerful group meets a less powerful group, they don't just strike up a friendship. And so it's sort of the question of, then what makes us think that first contact with aliens is ever going to go well? Now, I don't think we should go into it with bad expectations. I don't think that we should go into it being racist and being like, well, you guys are the aliens, you're going to try to kill us, let's fight them, let's fight you, let's wipe you out first. It shouldn't be a race to destruction. But if an alien race encounters us just sitting here on backwater old Earth, because we're way out there in terms of the galaxy. If there's life on a planet, it's probably closer to the center of the galaxy, because there are way more stars and way more planets over there. Again, it's just the odds. But the whole thing with us being way out here, it's just like, well, if an alien race shows up and they have these things that we think they're going to have, they have interstellar drives, they have effective immortality, what makes anybody think that it's going to go well for us? They almost undoubtedly, I'm sure humanity would be great in guerrilla warfare across the entire planet, but if they've got life science detectors and orbital strikes, then nobody's gonna live very long. Even guerrilla warfare can be defeated with sufficiently advanced technology. So I don't, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm not trying to say that, if we meet aliens, they're going to kill us. It's, if we meet aliens and they're more advanced than us, looking back at history, it probably isn't going to go well for us. Just looking at the historical precedent. And maybe they're completely unlike us. Maybe they got to where they are because they are inherently a more peaceful group than we are. The implication is, or maybe not the implication, maybe it's stated, but in the Star Trek universe, that Vulcans are just, they're just so much more chill than humans are. They don't wage that kind of war, and even in Halo, it's like the brutes are brutes. They fight. They, historically bomb themselves back to like an industrial age from a space age. It's not a story that hasn't been told where you have a species that makes it there and then falls back. The other thing is, it's not a story that hasn't been told where you have basically all the scenarios I'm describing. Hold on. So, yeah, no, I don't know. You can look at any of them. You can look at, even Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous, before the introduction to the Thargoids, is one of the best, we're alone in the universe situations. It's, you don't really think about it that much. And also the other one is Honor Harrington. Honor Harrington, there's the tree cats, but they don't run into like another spacefaring species. The entire book series, which I can't really recommend enough. I do love that series. I've talked about it plenty of times. There isn't like a group of aliens. There isn't a group of spacefaring aliens like the aliens that we're thinking of when I'm talking about this, that present a problem. It's all about just quarrel between humans. It's all about human on human violence. And maybe that's a little bit more interesting because there are fewer tropes for it to play into. I mean, there are more because there are more because obviously most stories are about humans and other humans. But if you're making a space opera, having it be without the United Federation or that sort of thing, where you have this group that's this collective of humans and aliens, where it's just humans being humans, and you don't have to write in all this other stuff, and potentially stick your foot in your mouth, or keep track of all these other races, or whatever, or screw yourself on the plot because you forgot this race could do this, and blah 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 blah. It keeps things a little bit more boiled down. It keeps things a little bit simpler, and sometimes it keeps things a hell of a lot more entertaining because you already know what's going on. You're not out of the loop on anything. It's just humans. It's humans. We know humans. We know how to deal with humans. So, yeah. I don't know. That's my humans rant for today. I hate humans. It's because I'm an alien. Maybe I'm saying this whole thing just to throw you guys off the scent. Maybe she's the alien. She already left. But maybe she's an alien. I mean, women are from Venus, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That's how that thing goes. The way she talks sometimes might as well be from another planet. You guys watch that episode about the chocolate? She's insane. In the best way. But, So, I don't know, what I can get back to after that. Talked about the Fermi paradox, the Great Filter. Either we're incredibly lucky or we're probably screwed, is basically how that goes. Oh, you know what? I'll leave that. Talked about other stuff. Talked about history. See, it's funny because, and it just makes me think about, because I was bringing this up. It just makes me think about, there's a scene in Stargate, because I these days at work I have 2 monitors of work and 1 monitor of Stargate highlights, because that's all I friggin' watch at work. And it's Jack O'Neill and Daniel Jackson, and they're on a planet, and Jackson's taking pictures of a plant because he's the archaeologist and cares about everything. And Jack is like, like, what are you doing, basically? And they sort of get into a little argument where, he's saying, well, we disagree in a lot of things. It's like, yeah, well, what about, like what? In mythology. He goes, and Jack is like, hogwash, lies. And Daniel kind of goes nuts. He's like, you see. Honestly, the scene is priceless. Mythology is one of the strongest bases for cultural development in a civilization, something like that. And I love that. I mean, they're totally going nuts, and the scene is actually pretty funny. But it's totally like it doesn't pay to be dismissive of everything that culture has learned in all its years, even if the mythology is just mythology, even if it is just even if it's something that was told because they didn't have a better answer. It's still cool. It's still okay, and it's still something that they lived on. It's something that they were based on. That they based their lives upon. And and some traditions and ideas from it carry on to this day. And it's so cool to be able to trace that back to people don't do this because back then this was super dangerous or whatever. Madison's Jewish, but she's not like Orthodox Jewish. She eats pork and bacon and stuff like that. She celebrates the holidays, and I sometimes celebrate with her. But she doesn't care too much about adhering to all of the rules that the religion sets out. And I was thinking about it one day because we were talking about eating pork. And I realized that, back 6,000 years ago, we didn't have a way to make pork reliably safe. And pork on its own is awful. It's disgusting. It's full of microorganisms and bacteria and often parasites. And parasites, I think, were the biggest deal. Those are the ones that you can actually figure out, like, oh, there's something in this. It's like, yeah, there is. Maybe we shouldn't eat that. And so they're like, okay, well, we can put it into a scripture. We can put it into something that everyone will get behind. If we tie it to all these other things, when you're putting in the rules for a religion, the rules for a civilization don't just appear out of nowhere. They evolve from previous ones, and you can see early Torah stories, early Bible stories, because it's the same thing, evolving from older myths and legends. And, I made that connection with the pork, and I recently made another connection, which was like, there is an evolutionary bottleneck. There was a point in time where humanity got down to like 2,000 people, and that was it. And, we can tell this because if you look at everyone's genetic code, it's just that similar. You'd think with the number of, think about it. You've got 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 16 great-grandparents, and, whoops, that's the wrong thing. Wait, 16? 8. 8, right? Yeah. 8 great-grandparents. I don't know where I got 16. And it just keeps going from there. You multiply by 2 every time. You double it every time, every generation. Because every person has 2 parents. And you'd think there'd be a lot more genetic diversity, because you'd be coming from just utterly unbelievable numbers of ancestors. Obviously, there was a point in time where it was like the first animal that can be considered a Homo sapien, a human, or, the Homo erectus. It's like, at that point there's like one. There's one that's called that, but it's not far enough away from the species that it's diverging from that it can't interbreed with it, and so then you get that. And, oh, you know what? There isn't supposed to be those reeds on the edge, huh? I'm going to leave them. I think they look good. So, you have that. And they traced it back, and they found that, wow, there really are not a lot of like, there's not a lot of genetic diversity. There's not as much as we thought there would be. And so you figure, okay, the population of humanity must have been whittled down at some point by some cataclysmic event, or maybe famine, or something like that, to this basically minuscule number. Which, in terms of a species, 2,000 is very few. Like scarily few. Like, with that many people, you'd think that you'd have to have people in charge of selective breeding so that you don't get serious inbreeding and lots of weird, malformed babies. You know, maybe they did have that, and the strong survived, and we're left with the ones that didn't come out malformed. But even still, it's incredible. And you think about it, and it's like, okay, so there was this bottleneck. There was this genetic bottleneck. There wasn't that much diversity. What like, Bible story, or Torah story, you know, religious thing, could I equate this to? It's like, well, what about Noah's Ark? And the concept of a flood is something that's very, very common in ancient mythology and ancient stories and stuff like that. And so, definitely not the first iteration of a giant flood, which points to there probably being a giant flood at some point of some kind. But it could be, you know, that and it was just Noah's family that survived. It could be sort of and there really weren't that many humans. But I think that the bottleneck was far enough ago that it really doesn't make it. I think, you know, certainly oral tradition, memory of it would have likely faded if even it was something that was noteworthy, because you don't think about it. You don't think about the population necessarily when you're just trying to survive in your tribe. You know, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, maybe they kept track, maybe they didn't keep track. I don't know. I wasn't there. So, you know, you can learn a lot from these stories, just from a historical standpoint. I didn't even finish out the rest of the scene there. The scene, on the whole, is hilarious. I forgot what I was doing. What's next? What am I looking at? Okay, I'm doing this. Well, okay. So where are we? We've got to here. We built up in here. Did we do everything? No, we didn't. We just made it brown. Okay, time to continue up there. Now a lot of the rest of this is gonna where I have grass up to. It's probably gonna turn into forest. So over here, even over here, we're probably gonna have some incursions of forest into the swamp, which is fine by me. And so then we have this spit here, and then we have like this area which is swamp, and then that's kind of it. So let's get in here. Let's get doing the dirty in here, and I definitely need another drink. Love water. Live off water. I was never one of those kids that drank a whole lot of soda. Or really anything. I don't drink coffee now, even. Like, you'd think, I voice Kurt, and you'd think, based on the guy's affinity for coffee, it would at least, if not rub off on the voice actor would understand beforehand what the coffee addiction really means. And the problem is, when I start talking as Kurt, I have to wave my hands around, so I can't work and talk as Kurt at the same time. But I understand what the coffee addiction means, Kurt. I dealt with my robotics teacher who, wow, he was most certainly a coffee addict. Guy just couldn't live without a cup in his hand. And really, it's, you know, I tried to embody, you know, not him, because that's not him, but at least his spirit. You know, I tried to embody that and get like the obviously coffee is the way you live. And even now, I'm in an engineering profession. It's a little bit weird that I don't drink coffee. Or tea. Or much of anything aside from water. People are getting coffee. You hang around the coffee machine. You fill up the pot of coffee. It's like it's part of the office culture, and yet I have no part in it. Now, the other thing that's a part of the office culture is having a water cooler and talking around the water cooler. We don't have a water cooler in my office. Not like the Boston office does. But the one in freaking Warwick, the one that I spend the vast majority of my time in, does not have a water cooler. And it's like living in the Stone Age. It's like, how am I supposed to get cool, clean water when we don't have a water cooler? What is this? We're supposed to get one eventually. Getting things into that office has been slow. Probably mostly because it's a fairly small office. We just did a changeover with IT, and getting anything done has been kind of a hassle. So let me go all the way around with the reeds and then come back for the next layer of grass, instead of just switching grass types every 50 feet. So, yeah. I don't know. It's awful. I don't like it. I have to get water from the sink, like a scrub. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in Flint. There's nothing wrong with my tap water. I just prefer to have Brita filtered water. Or at least, like, purified water of some form, not tap water. I'm a purist, okay? I don't drink any of that, like other stuff. I only distilled, only the purest spring water. No, okay. I'll drink water from pretty much anywhere. I don't really care. If it comes out of a tap, I'm probably fine with it, as long as it doesn't taste weird. Because everybody knows that tap water tastes different in different places. Has to do with not just the pipes, but the chemicals that the town uses to treat the water, whatever they may be. And if the water's hard, the pH of the water, that sort of thing. It all factors into the taste. And 100%, some water tastes great and some water tastes not great. And that can persist even after a Brita filtration. So, use these, blah, 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 that I'm advertising to get them right. And so last time I thought it was honestly great that I went on, like, the freedom rant. I've never felt more like a politician in my life than I have when I, started saying that. And I almost didn't realize what I was saying until partway through, because it was like, oh wow, I'm doing the American Dream speech right now. This is what I'm doing. This is happening. And I thought it was great because I'm me, and I like preachy things. Excuse me. But B, it was definitely absurd because. When I'm in front of a not live audience like this, when I am, talking to a camera, I can talk passionately about anything. Nobody will say anything. I mean, you guys in the comments might say something. Nobody's, as far as I understand, gotten pissed at me for what I've said yet, which I'm thankful for. If something I said doesn't sit well with you, say something, because I can either not talk about it again, or I can, we can figure out why. Even I like the idea that most people can tackle pretty much any subject with enough effort. With if there's something that you shy away from, the answer is not to keep running from it. The answer is to face it, and the answer is to think about it, because. Just like the peoples of old, where, they didn't know everything, so we need to reconsider the things that they thought back then. It's, the same thing with you and I every day. We don't know everything. Every day we have to take in new information, whether it be something political, whether it be something scientific, whether it be something social, just between friends. It's it's the kind of thing where we are humans. We are learning creatures, and we spend a lot of time doing just that. And I think that we need to always keep ourselves open to the learning. And if you're afraid to click on something on the internet, not like a virus or something, not like, oh, this link might lead me to watching somebody get decapitated by ISIS. Not like that. But like something that this link says might prove me wrong, and then I have to grapple with the fact that the things I've believed are wrong. You should click that link. Because guess what? You might be wrong. Everything I believe could be turned on its head tomorrow. And I probably will not have an easy time with that. Because not only am I stubborn, I feel like some of the things I believe are pretty set in stone. I would probably hesitate to believe like major changes in the things that I think about physics. But I got into a great discussion about 9/11 and the physics of the collapsing Twin Towers on Reddit, because everyone knows Reddit is the place to go for intelligent discussion, and everybody knows exactly what they're talking about on there. So, I really just sat back and watched normal rational people debate with 9/11 truthers about how it couldn't have possibly come down the way it has unless it was a staged demolition. And I'm chuckling at this, and I got such a kick out of that thread because I was like, oh man, this is gold right here. And I shouldn't be, because 3,000 people lost their lives, but it's just amazing to watch these exchanges happen. But if it was like, yes, evidence has come out today that the destroying the Twin Towers was in fact an inside job, I would probably still have trouble believing that, just out of principle of like, but no, there's no way. That's not a thing. The people it's fake news. They're making it up, or something like that. It's like, the world could be turned on its head tomorrow, but that doesn't mean people will accept it. It doesn't mean I will accept it. It doesn't mean you will accept it. It doesn't mean, no matter how prepared we are, that we will really be able to face certain bits of news. So think about that. Think about where you stand on things. Think about where, what you would stand for. What would you die for, even? And then think about, what if you're wrong? What if, what if, and it's hard to deal with, and I grapple with it like, maybe I've been living, what if I've been living my life the wrong way? What if the way that I act around people and the way that I think about people, what if it's all wrong? What if I've made many, uncountable mistakes? Haven't we all? But mistakes about, telling people right from wrong. What if I've just been wrong the whole time? Maybe that's just the way it is, and then maybe I'll have to live with that, and then hopefully people will forgive me for being wrong, and hopefully I'll forgive myself. And I think that's the hardest part for everyone, because you're denying, you'll deny that you're wrong. I'll deny that I'm wrong. I won't push this on other people. I'll accept this. Deny that I'm wrong, as long as I feel like, there's reasonable reason to believe that I'm right. And then if it comes to light that, and I may even go down the rabbit hole of like, I'm grasping at straws to figure, I'm in denial that I'm wrong. I'm grasping at straws. I'm making bad arguments. I'm saying, well, this thing is this, so clearly this must be this, and in the back of my mind I'm saying, yeah, but that doesn't make sense. But clearly that's not how it works. And so, and then afterwards I'll have to grapple with that. I'll have to be like, well, not only did I not accept that I was wrong, I was wrong. Or, well, not only was I not wrong, I didn't accept that I was wrong. I made a bunch of stupid arguments about, reasons I was right when I knew I was wrong. Uh, and, and now I have to face the consequences of being wrong, and I hope that, my friends or the people that I talked with, whether they were my friends or not, can forgive me for being wrong and for being so arrogant to think that I was right the whole time when it was clear that I was wrong. And it's hard to live with that, you want to save face, you want to be like, oh yeah, but no, I wasn't wrong though, I was, and you were wrong, and, it wasn't me, it's your fault. But, sometimes you just gotta face that, you gotta face that, and you gotta be like, yeah, no, I screwed up, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Just the other day, I had a conversation with somebody, we disagreed, it got a little heated, and then I felt bad because I was thinking like, okay, did I screw up? Is it me? Is it me? Is it my fault that the situation is this way? And I sort of left, I did leave. No beating around the bush. I did leave. I left the conversation, and I went and I sat and I thought about it for a while, and I came to the conclusion that yeah, I was wrong. It wasn't right of me to do what I did. It wasn't right of me to say what I said, and I shouldn't have stood my ground, because it was a fairly menial issue. It wasn't really a big deal. Nobody's alive. Nobody's life was hanging in a balance. And so I realized that I'm stuffy now. Now I'm gonna have to breathe totally through my mouth. I realized that I was wrong. And so I immediately went back, I found the person, and in front of everybody else, I made sure that I did it in front of everybody else. I didn't want to do it in private because I wanted people to see, this is what you do. I apologized and said that it was wrong of me to say that. It was wrong of me to try and push you around like that and treat you the way that I did. And it was wrong of me to disagree with you on the subject because, well, it was a subjective thing. It wasn't a factually right or wrong. It was wrong of me to disagree with you on this because you can do your own thing, and I'm not in charge of your life, and it's not like you're harming anyone by doing this. So, and I did that, and I got an apology in return. It was, well, I shouldn't have snapped at you. I shouldn't have, I need to learn to calm down in situations like that, and I apologize as well, and that was great. And that was great, and that made it all worth it. It made, I was able to go to bed, and I was able to feel good about my day, even though I was wrong. Because I went in there and I did my best to make an apology, and to let people know that I'll stand up for what I think is right, and if it turns out that I went in the wrong direction, I will apologize, and I will realize that, and I'm not too big to think that sometimes I don't get things right. So, and everyone needs that. Everyone needs a little bit of humility. Everyone needs a little bit of that sort of calming, just being able to chill out and not say anything, or not fight. To realize that you're wrong and go, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. And to say that with honesty, and to say that with integrity, and mean it when you say it, because it doesn't mean it if you don't mean it if you say it, or it doesn't matter if you say it and you don't mean it if you're saying it just to save face. Don't say it just to save face. If you're going to apologize knowing that you did something wrong. If you didn't do something wrong, you didn't do something wrong. If you weren't wrong, you weren't wrong. And the experience that you have should teach you to figure out when you are actually wrong or when people are just saying you're wrong. And you should be able to look into it and think about it and look at, your moral character and the moral character of the people around you and what would they think and what would they say. And not necessarily building yourself based on other people's judgments of you, but taking your judgments of other people, whether you think that they are a good person, whether you think that they are moral, whether they have been trustworthy in the past, and basing, base yourself on the best characters that you know, on the people with the best character that you know. Don't go looking for a good person in somebody who's clearly not. Don't go looking for a role model in somebody who's clearly not. And try to be a role model for everyone you meet. Make it so that people can look up to you. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to be a mentor. You don't have to be a YouTuber. You don't have to be the head of any groups. You don't have to have people following you or listening to you even. But if you happen to be walking down the street and you do a good deed and somebody sees you do it, that might make a world of difference for that person. It just might. And if you can affect one life, you can affect thousands. So, yeah, be a good person. There's another, like, quasi-political thing I wanted to mention. So, somebody made a joke about, like, if George Washington were to come back from the dead and run for president, would he win? And somebody's like, well, that depends. Would he still have slaves? And I'm not sure if Washington had slaves. Maybe he did. I'm not totally up on that era of my history. I know Thomas Jefferson did, because I talked about that with somebody not too long ago. But the fact of the matter is, you can't judge people outside of their time. If somebody is a terrible person by our standards, but in their world they were just doing what was considered right and normal, that's all you can judge them by. If they, in their era, were being terrible, then they're still terrible. If they, in their era, were being, I hesitate to say progressive, but better than the average. If they were particularly well known for treating women well and slaves well if they had them. If they advocated for certain things. If they advocated for certain rights or, whatever. The sort of modern luxuries that we come to expect, the equality that we come to expect out of a modern civilization. If they advocated for that stuff back then, more power to them. That makes them a standout. It doesn't make them what everyone else should have been. Because everyone is raised, everyone's a product of their time. And everyone's a product of the people and things around them. And so that's another reason to be a good role model, because you never know who's going to make you their role model. You never know who's going to see you and be like, I want to be like that guy. And you want to be the best person you can be in case somebody decides that on a whim. And, you should want to be the best person you could be anyway. I don't know why I'm necessarily being so emphatic about this. It's just I feel like we're currently in a culture where it doesn't feel like anything matters, and it's like, well, but you can be a dick. It's fine. You can troll people. You can screw with people. And yeah, harmless pranks are one thing, but when you're messing with somebody's head, when you're messing with their livelihood or whatever, when you're purposefully making somebody angry or relishing in somebody's unhappiness, I don't think that's good. And that's what I think that we need to move away from. So, live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. And try to be the best person that you can be at all times. Because that's what we should strive for. Anyway, that's my preachy soapboxy bit for today. That's my feel good moment. This is your, I wish I could be up there with the likes of the amazing people like Bob Ross and like Mr. Rogers, the people that, like Mr. Rogers especially. The man was nothing but wholesome. He lived and breathed and ate and drank and slept wholesome, and I think we should all aspire to be like Mr. Rogers. I hope nothing bad ever comes out bad about him, because we've already had so much, so many childhoods ruined, so many celebrities, they're not great, they're terrible, they, they're womanizers, or they grab women, or they touch kids, or, something like that. Like, it's one thing after another, and it's like, yeah, and being in that position of power just makes you want to abuse it, and I can understand, if not sympathize. I can't really sympathize with with the people that are doing these things, but I can understand that having a maybe not with the pedophiles, but having a position of power over people makes you feel like you're on top of the world, and people have to, or people have to answer to your command, and that you can do whatever you want and get away with it. But it's just there are some people that I really, really hope that never gets to. I really, really hope that there are people out there, there are plenty of people out there that are really just as wholesome and great as they appear to be. There will always be there will always be the least among us, but hopefully we can always keep the best among us too. And there are more good people than bad people. You don't hear about the good people. Yeah, power corrupts, but you don't hear about the good. You don't hear enough about things that are uninteresting but good. So, anyway, we've got that area done. And so we've got here, we started at like Shrek's hut, so we got this area filled in, and then we can move on to this area. Well, we got 15 minutes. Let's see. Let's go over to Mason's Landing. Uh-oh. Okay, we're good. That X was where I was originally going to put Mason's Landing. Okay, so let's see. I don't know what to put on this side of the road here. I'm not sure what I want. I'm not sure if I should put anything on that side of the road. Or what. But I know that over here I should start putting down this. Because this is some really nice grass we got right here. And I would like to start filling in this area because this area is just so great. And it should be more of a centerpiece. I mean, it's the second town on the map. It's the smallest town currently on the map. There are not many people living here. But it's still a town, Still got plenty going on. Let's just get a house like this. Just add another one, because why not? So, I don't know. Hope you guys got something out of today. Something out of today's episode. So I'm going to make this a dirt driveway. Yeah. I'm going to try to... Okay, so under here is like... I should make this dirt too, underneath the road. Just to get that out of the way. That way it'll connect to that. This place, I don't know what I should do with this. So is it hovering a little bit? I need to lower it into the ground just a little bit. Nope, I thought I was holding control. I was not. Okay, so we have a house. We have an abandoned house. House with a driveway. Other house. I could do to put some more stuff along the edge here, but I'm not really sure I want to. I want to have some trees. I want to have some fields. I want to have some farms as well. So, maybe like a field here. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll do that. Hold on. Let me get that stone wall that I was using. Well, let's go back to Treadway. We have almost connected these two, but that's going to be another issue. I'm running out of air, or I'm running out of voice. This stone wall, right there. Nope, that's the wheat field. Stone wall. Nope. Stone wall. Yeah, stone. Alright, let's go. Boink, 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 boink. Okay. Where were we? Mason's Landing. Like, I would like to have this area divvied up a little bit more into these farms. At least to give it more area. And we can have this area prime for redevelopment, so to speak. We've got this older looking farmhouse, which is way set back from the edge. And so I'm going to mark out like what I think is a good farm field, or a set of farm fields. Now we're going to have the stone wall that goes along here. Uh-oh. I don't know why that was happening. Oh, I was holding... Oh. If you hold control, it connects them. Like, if you do that, it just makes one. If you hold control, it does that. Very interesting. Okay. Anyway, goodbye. Goodbye, spiral walls. Not building a corn maze. That isn't even corn. Delete that spline point. That's straight now. I think I'm going to do this, is to have the field be mostly sort of parallel, like sort of a parallelogram. I mean, honestly, I should probably make it, although if this was the original road going through here, which I wanted to do, I wanted to have it be the original road, just disconnected to this side and then they moved it to the other side. So I was going to have this like this initially, and then we'll like send it off in that direction. But I didn't necessarily want it to actually have any traffic on it. In fact, it should probably go like that. Yeah. So I'll go like that, and then I'll have a crossing here, but just with crossbucks and nothing else. And nothing over here. I need to put up like a barbed wire fence or something around this. So let's get fence. Oh, you know what? Let's go back to the fence emporium. Where's the last place I built a chain link fence? I have no idea, but we're going to the Hank Hill's Home Hardware and Hardware Accessories. At 1225 Nabisco Street. There we go. There's a chain link fence. Oh, that's the redwood fence. I don't want that. There was one there. I'm stupid. I just realized this. There's a friggin' fence in Mason's Landing and I was looking at it. It is... Where's the track? It is right here. Yeah. That's the fence I want. Give me that. No! There we go. Okay. So, I want the fence to stretch from the building here wow, it is weird having that work like that. I wanted to take a turn here, so I want to have the corner, so split it there. I'm going to knock over my glass of water if I keep it where it is. It's in a danger ops position. That's not great. That doesn't look good. In fact, it looks like a real shoddy fence job. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this. Just to make things a little bit better. I think I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to do that. That way, yeah. Okay, that's good, that's good. See, here's the thing, though. How do we get trucks into here? You know what? Right through here. I'll make a dirt road that comes in. But then how do they get down to the beach? Over here, I guess. Let's just lay that out for the sake of it. And we'll use tracks for it so that I can, because that's just what I clicked on actually. There's no deeper meaning or reasoning to it. That's just what I clicked on. Yeah, that's fine. And then let's actually go in and grab this so that we can do that with it and make it line up. These walls are actually very nicely detailed. Alright, so now we have a way in and way down for trucks. And I want to encircle the whole beach. So like from here and then into the ocean there. This is not a public beach. This is a government installation. It's actually not a government installation. It's just a shipwright facility. But you know, makes it feel more edgy. It's a government facility. This is where we keep the aliens. But anyway. Do that, and I know there's a thing that's a gate that opens automatically when you come up to it. I don't care. So we got this area. This area is probably going to be mostly trees. And then over here is going to be all grazing land. And in fact, I think I need to run a fence. Why is this up here? You should be sunken more. Uh-oh, who the hell? Who dares call me? Also, why is it always just so loud in my phone? I really wish it would let me hang up. Oh, you know what? I can hang up on my phone. No, whatever, it doesn't matter. Still ringing. Thank you. Oh man, everybody's upset. Oh man, that's what happens around here when somebody calls. / go live. God damn it. Okay, so lower that. No, just a little bit. There we go. So it's just barely under the surface, because that's all I want. I just want to have to, dig out one scoop and you hit buried treasure, and then you're there. It's good. You're done. Okay. So we put up some fences, or we put up part of a stone wall for a sort of quadrilaterally road. I think I'll have another field over here that shares a wall with it. So actually that means I want to cut this road back a little bit. I want to move this building. Actually, the building is fine where it is. Alright, there. And then you. Alright, so I want that to be close enough for the road so there isn't really room to build property there. Except for at the ends where it curves away or just is away. And then I want to have another field over here, which I think I'll just mark out really quickly. Because this is the hallmark of a lot of New England places. Even into the 50s, there was a lot of just like random little farms. I mean, some of them still exist. Looking at South County, Rhode Island, like, yeah, there's farming down there. There's not that much, not anymore, but it exists. Anyway. Yeah, we got 2 fields. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you next week. Trainman out.